World champion Emerson Fittipaldi of Brazil is the leader of the McLaren team.
Really dry.
Driving the number 2 car is Germany's Jochen Mass. Team director Teddy Mayer, an American, blends the varied talents of his men and machines into a competitive mix.
My job, I work here, I don't know who he is, I've no idea.
Manager Alistair Caldwell of New Zealand guides the day-to-day operations of the racing unit.
He has no reason to be here. He pushed me first for some unknown reason, because I was doing my job, he was just standing in the way. He can lock me up, I'm not going to apologize to him.
Designer Gordon Coppock.
We want a driver that communicates well with us, because we believe very strongly in the communication and taking what the driver says and acting on it.
Jochen Mass.
You only gain when you work very close together with the designer. The designer has to interpret the words you're using, so you have to understand each other very well to do some things very quickly.
A successful racing car is the product of a successful racing team, and the team is as complex and interdependent as the components of the cars they campaign with. The machine that is the focus of the team's energies bears no resemblance to the family car other than having a wheel at each corner. There are no headlights, no windows, no windshield wipers, heating or air conditioning. There is no room for luggage, and it seats only one person. But if form follows function, it is the most beautiful car in the world. In the words of Gordon Coppock,
if we're all on form, he's on form in as much as he's driving well and he's communicating well. And we're on form in as much as we're receiving his information and acting correctly. The next time out, he'll go a little bit quicker.
To be a little quicker, the team has an infinite variety of options in suspension, tires, aerodynamics, and engine tuning that could confuse a computer.
Still got air in it.
It wasn't too slow on that.
What time did Emerson do that time?
7 minutes 66. 2.7.
A typical team might have 10 different types of springs for the rear wheels of each car and 10 different types of springs for the front. There might be 12 different positions or tension of each of the dampers on each of the wheels.
I don't know what to do now, but it doesn't work. Let's go.
There are numerous other minute adjustments for each wheel. Matters like toe in, toe out, camber, and caster. They mean little in the performance of the car parked in your garage, but they mean a lot when you're working at 180 miles an hour.
The other one was too big.
Yeah, I think I know why they had staggers go up.
A Grand Prix car must conform to rigid Formula One specifications on size, weight, and power, theoretically equalizing the machines. It is in the testing and practice before the race that the mechanics, engineers, and drivers toil to end that equality.
7, 8, 9, 7.
With its space-age frame and rocket-like propulsion, the Grand Prix car must still transfer its enormous potential to the road surface. The selection of tires, the right compound, the perfect degree of softness or hardness becomes an obsession.
Well, it was good anyway.
We got a blister right front there.
Okay, I don't think we're going to replace them for it either, unless you put the old one back on. And we're having some more mounted, but they're not ready yet.
Okay, well let's put the 32 right front that we took off.
Nice. Okay.
Last thing we're going to do the last new set we're going to have. We're going to look out there. Too bad, Gordon.
Huh?
Same thing on Yorkins. We're running out of those things fast.
Now what to do?
A softer tire gives more traction, but wears down more quickly. A harder compound is more likely to endure the entire race, but transfers less of the power to the road. The perfect compromise is the target of testing.
Hot change at the same time as the 701.8.
Which tires are these, Teddy?
What?
These are the soft ones.
No, the hard one. You just ruined it.
Pass in the beginning of the straight.
1 or 2 seconds or more?
About. Please slow me down.
Third row now, kid.
Huh?
Third row. That changes to the 7 flat. Yeah.
Power chain Regazzoni. It's louder power chain Regazzoni.
Who? Him.
Fourth, I think.
Yeah, 5.
The mechanic's work is done. It is all up to the driver now, and the tension mounts.
Do I get nervous before a race? I don't think I'm particularly nervous now.
Emerson is unbelievably relaxed before a race.
When I wake up race day, I'm more nervous than normal, for sure. I think any driver is. I have a good breakfast, but not very heavy. Then I go to the track. And for sure, when you arrive on the track on race day, you feel everybody under pressure, including the public. The public reaction is different on race day than Friday and Saturday. Be very careful not to take the overvisor away when you close. Everybody's under pressure, everybody's a lot of tension, and really people excited. All that excitement that builds up before a Grand Prix. When I come to the paddock or to the pit, I try to concentrate mentally to calm down. 3 or 4 hours before the race, I'm actually much more nervous than on the last 5 minutes. And 5 minutes or 10 minutes before the race, when I'm going to the grid, I'm very, very calm. And the last 3 or 4 minutes before the flags drop, I'm really cool, very calm down. And I'm really get calm when I'm sitting on the cockpit of the car. Then I'm just by myself. I am completely off of the world. Then I calm down.
Jochen, I think, is a little different. He gets fairly uptight before a race, tries not to show it. Personally, I think I'm far more uptight than they are. I've been doing it for a long time now, but I still get really bad at the beginning of a race. No other time, but the start, the warm-up lap and the start is too much for me, really. It's better now because I don't have to be there when they start the engines. I've trained myself so I can go back to the pits now. Set off back to the pits anyway, once that bit's going on, because that bit used to really fracture me when it was my racing car. Whether it would start and whether it would go off the grid and disappear from sight, that's the most important bit. It's the same old story. If it doesn't get any action, there's no prizes.
The weeks of testing, the night-long vigils of the mechanics and engineers changing and improving and improvising are all behind. The starting grid separates the preparation and the performance.
The road is dry, should be dry where he's going to start from up there.
Okay. Everything work okay?
Yeah, it's all right.
What's the water like? Is a lot of it out there or what? Any pools?
Okay. It's getting, it's filthy left.
Yeah. There's no way it's going to rain here. Look at it. It's smooth down. What's the handling like? Tell anything?
No, it's good actually. It's not understeer.
No stagger?
No.
Yeah. Because the tyres are still down low. Yeah, okay, we've got to leave the pressures down because even with 2 laps, they still don't get hot enough.
Sputtering a little bit, sputtering up under the big, but not very hard. Just
You all right?
Huh?
No problem. What about the water? Is there a lot of water? Or?
Not good, it's just bad.
Okay.
The car is feeling good.
Fine.
Pick me up, man.
See you. Yeah.
Quite warm now. It's a good thing you're Brazilian. If you were from Alaska, finish.
You kid them a bit about the problems that they're going to face, but try to make them face up to them as well. You don't want to disguise the fact that it is going to be an uptight situation, but you don't want them to get them too deep into it either. So you treat this subject as a joke, really. For Christ's sake, he's bound not to move.
Yeah, always.
Every time.
He appears for the rides on the start line. The signal board hangers.
Was it wet, David, did you say or not?
Have a good break. Per piacere. Andate pazienza?
I don't think so. It's pretty well dry.
Yeah.
It's getting dry. The bad thing is that some of these characters are going to end up starting wet.
Per piacere. No, sì, deve andare per piacere.
Easy.
Serious business, this kid.
All the tuning and tinkering is aimed at one spot, the starting grid. If the car is not packed with all the potential the team can give it, if a minor fault goes uncorrected, if the driver doesn't have a competitive machine under him, then the race is over before it starts. Races are often won or lost right at the start.
Emerson didn't move and he bumped around him, yeah. But it was a double
Duncan
start.
made a reasonable start.
Yeah, he made only one.
Yeah, Emerson should have gone.
The race itself compresses the weeks of work into less than 2 hours of brutally quick combat. With all the careful preparation, there are still things that can go wrong, and the crew is there to put them right.
Screw the abutment up! Screw the abutment up! Jack the car up and screw the abutment up! Jack the car up! Just that one. How much do you reckon?
A lot.
It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What about the wishbone and the rest of it?
Steering arms, man.
Steering arms.
Straight.
Keep going up with the abutment.
I've gone up a long way.
Okay, drop it down. Drop it down. Let's have a look. Keep going in.
I can't get it any wrong.
You don't get anything if you don't do the complete distance. You can lead the race for 54 out of 55 laps. If you don't complete the 55th lap, you don't get anything. Nobody remembers you. There's nothing in the papers on Monday at all about you. So you must finish. Right on, baby! Nicky's lot. Last 6 in. Very good. Very nice.
Very well.
Good down on the Nicky's.
Where's your briefcase?
On the truck.
Truck.
We've got millions of those things.
sessions, with the cars recording the fastest trial laps in front, again emphasizing how much of the race is determined before it begins. The rain makes a new race at every corner.
Very difficult in a Formula One car. The main problem is the aquaplaning on the straight line, because when you are sitting low in a Formula One car and going around in top speed 170, 180 miles per hour, you cannot see where there's a lot of water. The visor, because you don't have windscreen wiper, gets very dirty. Always there is a dust and mud on the track and come from the car ahead of you and get into your visor. And you have already get mist the visor inside, because the inside the temperature is much hotter than the outside from your head and from your breathing. The spray that you have from the car ahead, sometimes visibility goes down to zero. You just see a shade ahead of you and you have to guess where is the corner and what's happened ahead. That's really bad, because if someone is spun ahead of you, you just cannot see. You are going to hit flat out. But when you have aquaplaning, the tires lose contact to the track. Actually, some occasions, it's like if you have a boat with no rudder.
When the decision comes to change tires during the race, the men who have modulated the car for a certain set of conditions must now undo all their work and prepare for another set of standards. And it must all be completed in a time period calculated in seconds. The driver wants the slicks, the fastest tires, as long as he can keep them. If the track begins to dry, he will switch immediately to the quicker compound. Or if he is on the slicks and the rains come, he must choose the best moment to change speed for adhesion.
We only have pit stops if there's a failure with the car, which we're trying to avoid, or if there's a bad weather problem. The bad weather seems to have become more persistent.
There are races where boats would be more competitive than cars.
Over there, and water was more and more water running across. It just caught me when I went over the top, just went around.
Ordinary things become malevolent when you're traveling at 180 miles an hour. Small stones can puncture your tires. Mild breezes can throw you off the road. Rain can make the surface react like glare ice. Every member of the racing team is an expert at coping with the unexpected. Their credo could be expressed: if anything can go wrong, it will. But if everything seems to be going wrong and you still win, something must be going right.
The visibility was so bad where was the accident that I could not see how many cars crashed. The only thing I knew, the I saw the ambulance. I saw a big white vehicle. Actually, I could not see the yellow flags on the circuit. And when I stopped, they gave me the red flag. And I stopped, and one of the marshals asked me to jump out of the car. And I was just waiting there because I didn't know what was going on, if the race would continue.
And then there are those moments when all the teamwork comes together to perfection.
When you're driving a Grand Prix car and you feel the car is going perfect well in every corner of the circuit, and the brakes are good, the handling is good, you really feel very excited to be able to drive the car on the limit, really on the limit, and give everything you can give of yourself to the car as well. And then the car and your body is working perfectly well together. And you feel the car's reaction as an extension of your body and working on complete coordination. And that, I think, is really a fantastic feeling, to be able to control it, to maneuver the car.
There was no doubt about that, but I was running a strong second and looked like holding that to the end of the race. Not far behind Nicky, but still down. Then one of the fuel injection trumpets fell off, which is an amazing thing. Hasn't happened for years, and everybody in Mansfield is the same. It then, not content with falling off, it then managed to dislodge itself and stick the throttle open, because I was still soldiering around on 7 cylinders and could have finished in the points, and so that was the end of the race for me.
James, do you think that Ferrari can lose the title this year?
Well, they can certainly be beaten, but I think that they're hot favourites, quite honestly. They've got a very, very good team, and their reliability record's been fantastic, which is half the battle in winning a championship, a long, tough series like this. And of course, they've always got that edge on power, which puts them in a strong position wherever we go. But at the same time, I think some of the other teams, the Ford engine teams, particularly McLaren, my own team, have got a very good car. And we are probably a little bit ahead on chassis development, and if we can just improve the chassis a little bit, we'll make up the difference in time. Then I think we can give the Ferraris a real fight. But at the moment they're on top, and you know, they are favourites, so it's whoever beats them is going to do really very well. But it can be done.
South Africa, the second race of the season, and for the second time, James Hunt is on the pole.
I was pretty excited until about 10 seconds into the race, when Nicky had obviously got the drop on me at the start. And I didn't make a particularly good start there, as in fact I hadn't in Brazil. And I got stuck behind Brambilla for a few laps, which is enough to give Nicky the break that he needed, and he went about 7 seconds clear.
Niki Lauda again dominates the race. The real battle is for second place. Hunt, Maas and Brambilla are all fighting hard, but Lauda seems a certain winner. Eventually, James emerges to capture second place.
And then in the second half of the race, I started slowly chipping it away. And I was always working, but quite honestly, I was only less than a second and a half behind Nicky at the end of the race, but he always had the upper hand, and although I was chasing, I never really looked like doing anything about it, and he was definitely on top then.
2 seconds, you couldn't make that little extra bit.
No, don't worry, I was trying to make it.
Take it again, you can't. Oh, did you say that? Well, yes, we're on here.
We'd had 2 races, and at that point one could sort of have a look at the situation, and then I said then that, you know, it seems that Nicky and I are the people who are going to be contending this year, all things being equal, and at the moment Ferrari have the winning habit, and we don't, because there's really very little to choose from us in speed. It's just that intangible edge, because he was definitely on top of me in those first 2 races.
6 points against Lauda's 24. But Nicky had injured himself in a tractor accident.
I got the pole in Spain, and Nicky was on the front row again, so it was the usual format, and it was still the usual format when he got the better start and got away in front, but I was right behind him, and he was driving with 2 broken ribs, but I think I was quicker than him anyway, because even following him the first 25 laps or so, the first 20 laps anyway, he was obviously all right, because they were numbed. He'd had injections to freeze his ribs and get no pain. But it would have been very difficult for me to get past him if he'd been fit.
Despite his injury, Lauda clings to his lead, but James never eases the pressure, constantly threatening from behind. Hunt comes closer and closer, but Lauda hangs on. The Ferrari is easing up, but not quite enough for the Marlboro McLaren pursuer.
After about 25 laps, well, I was following him and pressuring him. Obviously his ribs were giving him trouble because he slowed down, he was having a bit of trouble, and I was able to nip through, and then it was really just a matter of keeping the car together and keeping on the road to the finish, my teammate following me, and then of course we had it so it was an easy win from that point of view.
James, all alone now, takes command, backed by his teammate Jochen Maas. Driving hard, he puts his car through its paces and on home to victory. His first win for Marlboro McLaren.
Now just a minute, I haven't done my hair yet. I'm not ready to go on the telly. Can you get the wardrobe along?
Congratulations. How much have you got in hand?
Well, I had to work very hard for the first half of the race. I thought Nicky was very brave. You know, he drove really well. And, thank you very much. He drove a fantastic race, and Jochen did too. And he, you know, they were pretty kind to me. It's the second half of the race. Let me go. I had it all my own way.
But officials claimed that his car was 1/8 of an inch too wide. It was a brief victory.
Until they took it away 3 hours after the race. Well, I didn't really feel anything. There was nothing to feel. Nothing I could do about it. And I'd done my job on the day, and people were very surprised that I didn't appear to get excited or up.
You have to place the bet on Marlboro McLaren for 76. Again, Lauda takes the lead, forcing James into second place. Snaking down the backstretch, Lauda forces the pack to follow his airflow. A confident Lauda stretches his lead to 50 metres. As in other races, the battle seems to be for second place. But Lauda is taking no chances. Harder and harder he drives, pushing his car to the limits. But the car just can't take it. Lauda is out of the race. Hunt is in the lead, Regazzoni second.
What happened? The whole car just blocked, and I was sliding along, and then, you know, this blew up here. Terrible luck. I don't sit for looking at it.
Despite a badly vibrating car, Hunt manages to hold on to the lead and take the flag. The win in France is doubly rewarded. The victory in Spain is reinstated. Hunt has found the winning edge.
I was still a long way behind, even after it was a strange thing emotionally for me, because if you remember, Nicky's injuries at first, we had the accident, and at first he was thought to be not badly hurt at all. They said he got a little bit of burns around his face, and he's up and about and breathing and talking and happy. So we thought no more of it. And then when we did have the race, you know, there wasn't an emotional problem, and I was really thrilled to win it, because I really wanted to win at the Nürburgring, because it is a little bit special. It's a big deal for a driver to win there. And I was pleased with the way in which I won, because I managed to really dominate that race.
Although Hunt captured first and Maas took third, it was a hollow victory for Marlboro McLaren. Nicky Lauda was very seriously in the third place behind Ronnie Peterson and John Watson. The Marlboro McLaren is having brake problems, and James can only manage to hang on to third place. James holds back, letting Peterson and Watson fight it out. The pair are vying for first. Watson underbrakes and ends up flailing. James seizes second place.
I was particularly pleased with that race, because the car, you know, really wasn't very good because of that. It was one of those races where I just clung on. I managed to get at the front in the beginning, and I just clung on to my lead all the way, and felt very pleased with myself for doing that in a car that was really a struggle.
But once in the lead, James doesn't give up. Despite his troubled car, he's able to stay ahead. dicing with John Watson is critical, but James proves the better. He shakes him off his tail. Hunt's single-minded determination carries him to victory. James Hunt has got the habit, the winning habit.
Tell me, when did you feel happy that you were going to win it? I should think with about 4 laps to go, sir.
Scrutineers determined that Marlboro McLaren's octane level was too high and relegated them to the back of the grid.
So I started from the back of the grid. I had to go for it because that's the only way I could possibly score points. And overtaking is very difficult in a Formula 1 car, and you have to go for it.
Trailing the pack is a new experience for Hunt, but he is still in the race, at least until the 11th lap.
I missed a gear coming out of the corner before that and made a bit of a mess up. Price came up alongside me, and I didn't try and block him because I didn't think he'd try and repass me because it was pretty pointless. Anyway, he tried to come alongside me, and I tried to protect my position. Once I'd seen he was doing it, I was still trying to get in the corner in front of him, which was a mistake, because when we arrived together, there wasn't room for me, and off I went.
The race is over for James Hunt. His battle for the World Championship must wait till Canada. Ronnie Peterson is first across the finish line, but the real hero of the day was Niki Lauda, who only weeks before in Germany received the last rites. He started 5th, but fought his way up to finish 4th. Italy loved it. He had increased his lead. The score was now Lauda 61, Hunt 56.
I've never enjoyed physically driving more than I did in Canada because it was such a relief to get away from all the people and just get in the car. It was a real escape.
Hunt 65. Hunt must gain 4 points over Lauda to win the championship. Conditions on race day were appalling. James is in the front row, but directly behind him is Lauda. James has his best start of the year, when it really counts. Off to an early lead, he leaves the others to fight through his spray. Handling more like a hydroplane than a car, Hunt lengthens his lead. Lauda is in the pits after the first lap. Declaring the track unsafe, Lauda withdraws. His life is more important than the World Championship. Hunt is still leading, skimming down the track, leaving the others to plough into his wake. Gradually, the track is drying, causing the soft rubber rain tires to break up. James' tires begin to shred. He must go into the pits. The lead is lost. But in just 27 seconds, the Marlboro McLaren mechanics have James back in the race, in 5th place with only 5 laps to go.
Once I was out on the track again after my pit stop, and they did a fantastic job changing the wheel. All I could do was drive as fast as I could and pass any car that I saw.
And pass he does. First past Regazzoni, and then Jones. Then trying for all his work to get past Depailler. Third place is high enough. A new world champion. However, James is the last to know.
When I came in, I didn't know, and when they told me, they didn't look very convinced, and I didn't want to believe anybody and then get disappointed after all the disappointments I've had this year. There's no way I was going to let this happen, so I said I want to see this in writing.
Give me a drink. Congratulations, James. Thank you. Did we really win?
No champagne for 3rd place, but who cares when you won the World Championship?
You sort of get the flavour for it, this winning business, and nobody's won the championship 2 years